Are you PCSing to San Antonio, but you don't have a clue where to start looking to live? Hi, I'm Christine Johnson with Fathom Realty. Welcome to another episode of Serving San Antonio, where we talk about everything there is to know about living here in San Antonio. So if you're into that kind of stuff, make sure you hit the subscribe button above. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through some of the best places to look when being stationed here at one of the many bases in San Antonio. So if you're getting orders to San Antonio, then you definitely wanna check out this video. Let's start with Alamo Ranch, located near Lackland Air Force Base. This is a friendly neighborhood with beautiful landscaping and views and larger backyards. Because of the large size of this community, Alamo Ranch offers a large variety of homes in various prices. One of the reasons people love living there is the close proximity to Lackland Air Force Base and other government installations. If you're looking for a commute less than 20 minutes, this is the place to check out. Alamo Ranch also offers plenty of options for dining and all of your shopping needs. And don't forget about the amenities. Alamo Ranch has an outdoor aquatic center, basketball courts, jogging trails, and even a huge playground for the kids. If you happen to be relocating here with your family, I know that one of the big concerns is, will my kid be in a good school? Don't worry at all, because Alamo Ranch is zoned for one of the top-rated school districts in San Antonio, Northside Independent School District. NISD has been academically recognized and continues to be one of the best school districts in the state of Texas. The second neighborhood you definitely have to check out, especially if you're headed to Fort Sam Houston. This time we are headed to Terrell Hills. And when I say it's close to Fort Sam Houston, I mean it's close. It's only 2 to 3 miles and about a 7-minute car ride. Even though I'm calling Terrell Hills a neighborhood, it's really its own independent city. This means it has its own city council, mayor, public works, and police department. Being centrally located between San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston, and Alamo Heights, you're never gonna run out of things to do. There's an abundance of cultural attractions, shopping venues, and amazing places to eat. Places like Central Market, the Witt Museum, the Quarry, and the North Star Mall are some of my favorites. And don't think I forgot about the kids. The majority of Terrell Hills homes attend the highly regarded Alamo Heights Independent School District. It was given an overall rating of an A+, and it was ranked number 2 of best school districts in San Antonio. Because you are so centrally located to everything in San Antonio, the median home price in Terrell Hills is about $370,000. This makes it a little on the high end, but what you get in return is well worth the investment. I don't want anyone getting stationed at Randolph Air Force Base to feel left out. So our third area we're going to talk about is Cibolo, Texas. Cibolo is located about 15 minutes from Randolph Air Force Base and offers residents a small town feel, yet still close to larger cities. Homes vary from 1-story to 2-story, and they have really large lots. And the average home price is about $300,000. Like I said before, Cibolo has that small town feel, so most people don't mind driving about 30 minutes downtown San Antonio for some entertainment with the family. One great thing about living in Cibolo is you are not just confined to San Antonio for fun activities. You are just a short drive to New Braunfels with lots of outdoor shopping and activities, lots of great food, and if it's the summer, don't forget to float the river. Cibolo is zoned in the Schertz, Cibolo, Universal City Independent School District and is highly praised and given an overall rating of an A. Now I know that's something I want to hear when I'm looking for places to live. Well, I hope this video gave you some great insight into some great places to move to if you're being stationed here in San Antonio. For more information on San Antonio, be sure to hit the subscribe button above to check out more of my videos. Thanks for watching another episode of Serving San Antonio. I'm Christine Johnson with Fathom Realty.